Hi, I'm Chandler Barrow.
And I'm Alexis Warnock.
We are from the Fragile Wings Foundation, spreading the wings of awareness.
And today we're going to talk about a devastating condition, epidermolysis bullosa.
You may have seen these children before, perhaps on news specials or documentaries. You may also know of their inspiring struggle with a debilitating disease that affects the skin. But what exactly is it?
Epidermolysis bullosa, EB, is a group of rare, devastating, inherited skin diseases that affect the connective tissues in the skin. EB is characterized by the blisters and skin fragility that accompany it. Below is a diagram of the human skin, showing the epidermis, top layer, dermis, middle layer, and hypodermis. Epidermolysis bullosa is classified into three main groups. The first is epidermolysis bullosa simplex, where blistering occurs in the upper layer of the skin. This is the most common, accounting for 70% of cases, and is milder than the other types of EB. The second type of EB is dystrophic epidermolysis bullosa, where blistering occurs in the upper part of the dermis, the second layer of the skin. This accounts for 25% of cases. The third type of EB is junctional epidermolysis bullosa, where blistering occurs at the junction between the epidermis, the top layer, and the dermis, the second layer. This is the most rare along with the most severe form of EB, accounting for 5% of all EB cases.
So how do you get EB? Well, EB is most commonly inherited in an autosomal dominant pattern, and in rare cases, autosomal recessive. Dominant refers to only one copy needed for the gene to be expressed, and recessive needing two copies for the gene to be expressed. The diagram above shows an autosomal recessive inheritance pattern. This requires both of the parents to have the gene or be a carrier of the specific trait. This usually skips generations and affects patients more severely. Due to the many different types of EB, many different gene mutations can occur. The main genes include KRT5, KRT14, and PLEC.
The keratin genes KRT5 and KRT14 are responsible for the levels of keratin in the body. This keratin makes up the filaments that connect the different layers of skin, as well as your nails and hair. These genes are responsible for the strength of the skin as well.
PLEC, or plectin, is also responsible for some of the same or similar processes as the keratin genes. Plectin is, however, different as its main responsibility is to hold and connect the dermis to the upper layer, the epidermis. Now that we have covered the genes affected, let's get into how or why. The mutations in the previous stated genes occur in a process known as base substitution, where a nucleotide base is changed and coded for another base other than its pair.
When the helicase splits the DNA strand in the process of making the mRNA starts, the cytosine nucleotide is coded for uracil instead of guanine, which does not follow the base pairing rules of A to T and C to G. When the mRNA finishes up the process before leaving the nucleus, it is not noticed that the nucleotides are in incorrect order.
Now that the mRNA is on its way to the ribosome, the tRNA, which is carrying the anticodon, gets confused. The mRNA codon codes for a different amino acid than what is expressed through the tRNA anticodon. As a base substitution occurred switching the C to U, the amino acid has now changed from proline to leucine.
Patients with EB face many difficulties in their everyday life, including hair loss, breathing difficulties, tooth decay, deformed nails or nail loss, and most commonly blisters. These blisters can cause difficulty with eating or breathing. Complications from EB include skin and blood infection, anemia, dehydration, inability to swallow, loss of use of the hands and feet, and an increased chance of squamous cell carcinoma, a type of skin cancer.
Warning: graphic images ahead. This slide shows the two most common forms of epidermolysis bullosa, simplex and dystrophic. This slide shows the most rare and severe type of epidermolysis bullosa, junctional EB.
Created using Powtoon.